Okay, we got some people in the chat. Damien, I see a message. Can't hear anything yet. Yeah, I was on mute. I'm just setting some things up. So bear with me, people. I'm going to be another minute, and then we get the show on the road. Have a little talk about the fight. If you want to get some messages in the chat, but I'm just sending the link out so some people can join. Yeah, don't worry if you can't hear anything because I'm just doing some stuff behind the scenes. Yeah, I won't be too long. Okay, I'm in the room. How we doing, people? Um, I can see that my mic is working. Can you guys hear me? Is the quality okay? If you just put something in the chat to let me know. But all right, we got 4 people in the chat so far. Easy Ollie, add Haney to the long list of horribly overrated fighters. I'm not sure about that. Overrated fighters, that's a difficult topic because a lot of the time fighters are overrated by at least someone, usually their fans. So, I think he's a good fighter. Um, I I don't know. I don't know who you've been talking to, Ollie, but I don't think Haney's that overrated. Like, he's undisputed. Probably hasn't had the hardest route to undisputed compared to other champions, but yeah, I think he's still on the come up, to be honest. Prolific one. Okay, you can hear me okay? Good, 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 good. So 7 people in the chat. I was initially going to just do like a pre-recorded video for this fight, but I figured, I'd try something a bit different and do a post-fight review as a live stream so I can interact with you guys. It's not going to be the longest one. I'm probably going to go till about 1 o'clock, but should be able to talk about some stuff. Alexander Randall says, not seen the fight yet, but haven't seen one person giving it to Haney. Well, it's an honor to be the first, to be honest. Cut to the chase. I did have it for Haney. I didn't score it. Truth be told, I didn't score it. But I watched it in the last hour, and I don't really have an issue with the decision. I went into the fight this morning not knowing the result. I just found a copy, started watching it. Didn't see anybody else's take on it. I haven't seen. I saw Andre uploaded his video. I haven't seen it. I don't think G-Man or Hatman or Henry have uploaded theirs. But yeah, these are just my thoughts. Some of you guys may have seen my pre-fight video and prediction, and I picked Haney to win by the margins that he did. So I guess you could say it's a little bit of confirmation bias on my point. I'd understand that if you did, but basically what I'm trying to say is I'm trying to be as objective as I can, and I don't really have an issue with the verdict because Lomachenko, don't get it twisted, this was a very close competitive fight. I'm just trying to think. It was, both men had their moments for sure, 100%. Both guys had some very clear moments as well, but the work of Haney, I feel like it was just a bit more consistent. I feel like there was a certain amount of precision with his work. Was Haney? Bear in mind, people, I'm just going to move the mic yeah, there was a certain amount of precision with Haney, and naturally being the bigger guy, his shots were a bit more telling. But that being said, there was a point later in the fight, and I'm sorry if this is spoilers for any of you guys, um, but Lomachenko, he, I don't feel like he really got into his groove because Haney had a lot of answers for what he was doing. However, there was a point late in the fight, I want to say around 10 or 11, where Haney looked like he could have gone because Lomachenko was trying to pour it on. But see, the thing is, against the bigger guy like Haney, there were multiple times when Haney was just able to shake him off. And that's the difference sometimes is, okay, when the skill was kind of gone and you're starting to get tired, it's going to come down to who's a bit more physical, who wants it a bit more. We know that's the old cliche. Um, but yeah, there was even a moment, I think, in the midpoint of the fight where Lomachenko looked to advance forward on Haney, and Haney just held his ground, and Lomachenko kind of ran into him and then just got a little bump with the shoulder, and he was on the floor. So there's quite a big difference in physicality. Although Lomachenko, to his credit, he was trying to get stuck in that later part of the fight. Well, he got stuck in from early, but he was really putting it on Devin Haney. I was thinking at the time, maybe Lomachenko secures this by stoppage. So he deserves a lot of credit. But I had it by Devin Haney. I had Devin Haney winning. Just going to catch up some comments here. Easy Ollie says Beats had Haney winning as well. Yeah, I can't argue with that, to be honest. G-Man, we've got G-Man in the house. How you doing, bro? Got my post-fight uploading long. The long and the short had Loma winning, but no issue whatsoever with the result. Only issues with this 116, 112. Yeah, maybe that's a little bit of a stretch. See, in my prediction, I said Haney by unanimous decision, something like 2 to 4 rounds. So I predicted it, but yeah, maybe it is a little bit of a stretch. But I'm definitely going to have to watch this one again because I just watched it through. I didn't do any pausing, rewinding, slow-mo, or anything like that. TMT, hello. Good morning. How you doing? Oh, good afternoon, rather. At least where I am. Alexander Randall, Chris gave it to Loma by 2. It was always going to be a nip and tuck fight. Yeah, definitely. And this was a very good version of Lomachenko. But I feel like Lomachenko, we've started to see that his style's got a little bit of a shelf life because there was a point in time when Lomachenko he was the Matrix. He was untouchable. But he has that kind of style that I give him credit, and many other people do, for having like a revolutionary style where he's going to help. What he brings to boxing is going to help to really level up people's understanding of what to do in the ring. But the thing is, his contemporaries, his competitors, they're learning from him. And the longer he spends in boxing, the more they pick up on. And I feel like it's reached a point now where, yeah, he's obviously way north of his natural weight class. I think that's quite clear. But people they have a better idea of what Lomachenko does. And even if they don't implement it in their own style, they know how to counteract it. And I feel like that's what Haney did. That's what Lopez did in reality. But Lomachenko is still a fantastic fighter, 100%. Ben says, I had it a draw, no problem with the result, but the 116, 112 was a bit out there. Haney definitely didn't win that 10th round. Yeah, because the 10th round was one when Haney was having it stuck on him. So, yeah, I get that. Edmund says, Beats always favours black fighter, so his opinion is pointless. A 50-plus-year-old man getting into rounds of 17-year-olds. Look, I feel what you're saying. I don't really follow Beats like that too closely, but to play devil's advocate, I had Devin Haney winning, as did Beats apparently, but Lomachenko is, I tend to not disclose my favorite fighters to watch just because I feel like sometimes people are going to use it as ammunition to kind of like discredit my take on certain fights. But Lomachenko over the past few years has been one of my favorite fighters to watch. Like stylistically, one of my favorite fighters in the whole of boxing. But that being said, if you're in a position to make predictions and review fights, you got to put that aside, and that's what I'm trying to do. So I'm trying to be as objective as possible, as unbiased as possible, and I still have Haney winning, as I did when I predicted. So it's just to put the disclaimer out there. Whenever Haney went on the back foot, Lom was schooling him. Um, I can't remember the fight in that much detail, but there were moments where you could see a gap in class. But was it schooling? I don't know, because there were plenty of moments when Haney would time Lomachenko with a relatively straightforward timing. And Lomachenko, he has these kind of idiosyncrasies where he resets. A lot of the time, he kind of walks around the ring quite casually, and I feel like he wasn't entirely switched on at certain points, and Haney was just able to land a quick shot and time him, stuff like that. But yeah, both guys definitely had their moments for sure. Um, and I feel like I don't want to sound like Adam Smith, but it's like it's what you prefer. In this case, it's like it's what sticks in your head the most. Um, I love Loma. Pause. Though it's difficult to be unbiased. Yeah, look. Sometimes it's subconscious, but if you're like in my position or G-Man's position or whoever else, and you're trying to present an opinion, it's usually best if you try to keep your feelings out of it. And ultimately, like, I don't know these fighters. I don't really care about them. They just entertain me. But even then, that kind of entertainment factor, if you've been entertained for many years by one fighter, um, I guess you do kind of have some kind of affinity for them. I don't know. TMT says Lomachenko's style has been deciphered now. His opponents know how to prepare. Loma did better than I thought regarding his age. Haney is very good, but not great. Yeah, TMT, that's spot on. That's what I mean. The style at first, it was so dynamic. It was very exotic, and people they were just like blown away. Whereas now, you're able to kind of dissect what he does and counteract it. So yeah, agree 100%. Um, Loma did better. I thought Loma did. I thought he performed as he would. To be honest, just as I predicted. Um, Regarding his age, yeah, look, a 35-year-old lightweight to be performing the way he does is very impressive. Haney is very good, but not great. Yeah, I can understand it. I think it's very much early days for Haney. Undisputed champion, got to give him massive credit for that. But becoming undisputed champion against George Kambosos, Kambosos is good, but you're only as good as the guys you beat. And he's got a good scalp on his resume now in Lomachenko, but there's still a lot more that needs to be done. And lightweight right now is quite stacked. Would this version of Devin Haney beat Tank Davis? I'm not entirely sure. I don't think so. He was getting touched up quite easily by Lomachenko, who, yeah, the style of Lomachenko and the style of Tank is fairly different. But, Tank's power is in a different stratosphere to Lomachenko's, that left hand and the right hook. Is he quicker than Lomachenko? I think he's more explosive. He's got a certain quickness, and I think Tank is smaller than Lomachenko. So even though he hits harder and is probably a bit physically stronger, but it also begs the question: will Haney even stay at lightweight? But I must say that I was keeping a close eye on the weigh-in for this fight, and I thought Haney looked good. Like, he looked much better than he did in other weigh-ins. So yeah, it depends on the future. But yeah, Haney, yeah, it's definitely too early to say that Haney's a great or anything. He's a good fighter though, good solid fighter. Edmund says, I just don't like beats. He says stuff like this guy wishes he was like Canelo is a cheat, but Ben isn't. I find it hard to like someone like that. I know Hatman in some visits taking a dig at him. Yeah, look, ultimately it's someone's opinion, and like Beats, just like the rest of us, it's his channel, it's his place to express himself. I don't follow Beats anymore. I used to back in the day, but I don't. I've never even had any kind of correspondence with him, so it is what it is. I just give my take, and obviously the rest of the boxing brotherhood. But fair enough, man. Like there are only so many hours in a day. You don't have to allocate hours to every single channel. If you don't like someone and their opinion, don't watch them. Same goes for me. Same goes for anyone else. Jay says, if you remember, I picked Loma to win quite confidently. Yeah, Jay. I was gonna reply to your comment, but I thought, nah, it's I'm not gonna pick on anyone. But anyway, I picked Loma to win quite confidently. The fight went pretty much how I thought it would go. I think Loma defo won, though it was close. But Loma, I don't know. I have to disagree with you there, buddy. I think Haney was the clear winner. Lomachenko, as I say, I'm gonna watch it again for sure. And if I have any differing opinion, I'll do a video. I'll do a follow up. But just based on what I saw, I just have to go with Haney, man. I think he was the fair, rightful winner. TMT, Haney will have a glass ceiling as long as he has to kill his body by remaining lightweight. Yeah, it does make you wonder how much is that going to take out of him. But to be fair, I don't think he's done too badly. You know, he's had a couple of scares in his career, but you do have to wonder how long is he going to last at lightweight? Because there are a lot of guys who are gunning for him. I always thought Shakur beats Haney even before this fight. To be honest, Shakur is a level above. To be honest, for the longest time, I've always been more impressed by Shakur Stevenson. Even that, you've probably all seen it, that sparring session between Haney and Shakur Stevenson. I used to watch it. And I just think, like, Shakur is this. You can see there's so much more pedigree, even though Haney's not a slouch. There's just a bit more polish with Shakur Stevenson, and he seems like a lot more. I think he's just a lot more naturally talented. But can he make that count? You know, time will tell. Proof's in the pudding. Lomachenko still has a role to play in that division if he still has the desire. Well, that's going to be the key question because he's come so close, and I don't think Lomachenko could have done any better. So that's why I'm giving Haney credit, because I do think that this was a very good version of Lomachenko. But there was, you know, we can look at the fight and we can say, oh, why didn't Lomachenko adapt? Why didn't he start blocking that right hook to the body, whatever? But all fighters have their shortcomings. And Lomachenko at lightweight is really stacked up against him. This is someone who turned pro at featherweight. And he wasn't a big featherweight at all. But he's in against guys now who, let's be real, they're 140 pounders. Some of them have actually fought 140 pounds. And Chris Andre, he talks a lot about kind of entry points of, a fighter comes in, they come into a new engagement when they're in range. With Lomachenko, his effective range is so much shorter, so much smaller than the fighters that he's going in against, like Devin Haney. So for Lomachenko to get into an effective range, he has to be in Haney's effective range for so much longer. And it really, Lomachenko, I think, is still a fantastic technician, potentially still the best technician at lightweight, if we're looking at it from a technical perspective. But it just gets to a point where your technique it gets stretched so much to overcome those deficits in size and physicality. And I just don't think Lomachenko can do it anymore. But that being said, looking at Lomachenko, I feel like if he wanted to, he probably could go down to super featherweight. But as you say, TMT, it comes down to the desire. Does he want to? Because to get to where Lomachenko is now, you have to have a different level of competitive spirit. And it's it can be painful, like so painful, to let it, leave it, like it's been put to bed. But it's down to Lomachenko. He's a grown man; he can do what he wants. But yeah, leaving behind fantastic legacy. I don't think he's never been undisputed, has he? But he's done some insane things in boxing, and yeah, he's an all-time great in my book, Lomachenko, for sure. Jay said, I wonder what weight Haney walks around at. He's not in camp, or when he's not in camp, I think around 170, 175. No, I think that's probably, I'd say knock 10 pounds off of that, maybe. I'd say probably about the 160. Because I don't think Haney's the tallest. He just looks massive compared to someone like Lomachenko, who's a midget. Yeah, I don't think he's that high. I'd say 160, maybe 165 if he's been off for a while. But I don't think he's touching the light heavyweight limit. Nah. Stevenson and Davis have higher talent, in my opinion. Haney's dedication, yeah, exactly. That's the thing. It's Stevenson and Davis definitely more talented, more natural. But Haney, he's been grafting, man. This is someone who's grown up in boxing, and he's got talent, but relatively speaking, his talent level isn't as high, at least in my opinion. But he's been grafting, man. He's been grinding away, really trying to learn his trade and become a pro, and it pays off. This is why it's not enough to just have talent, because there are plenty of people who don't have talent, but they stay the course, and they chip away, they get better and better. It's a constant process. I think I agree with you there, TMT. That's Haney's an example of that. Jay says Haney fighting at 130 pounds is like Loma was to fight 122. Yeah, probably. Imagine how dominant Lom would be at 122 with the exceptional skills combined. Yeah, exactly. Well, we saw an example of that against Rigo when he fought him in 2017. Because Rigondo is he's obviously a legendary fighter in his own right, but tiny. I remember Lomachenko said he'd squash Rigondo in the lead up to that fight, and he probably could. Rigo's that small, but it just goes to show that there's levels to this. But as I always say, size goes both ways. We saw how competitive Lomachenko was against Haney. So it's how you use the size. That's the thing. But it is generally is quite difficult being up against someone who's bigger than you. TMT, sad day when Lomachenko retires. I remember telling myself to appreciate it while it lasts. Yeah, that's the thing. It's like so many people want to talk about how boxing's dead and boxing is a dead sport and UFC's taken over. Well, this was one of the most meaningful fights to happen in boxing, a fight that many people called for many years. It just happened on a weekend, and it was a competitive fight, so much so that people are debating who won. Boxing's not dead, but even more so, look at the talents that are in boxing. Lomachenko and Usyk alone, some of the greatest talents in boxing history. So how can boxing be dead? It doesn't make sense. So, yeah, look, you don't have to kiss these fighters' backside, but you can appreciate them while they're here. And I'd advise you to do so, just because there will be dark days to come in boxing where there are no talents like this. But all you can do is enjoy the fighters that you enjoy watching while they're active. So yeah, 100%, I agree with that. TMT. Joseph King, Haney demonstrated a better inside game than most people credited him for before the fight. To even be remotely competitive at that range against Lomachenko speaks volumes. I think a lot of his a lot of the inside work was his physicality. I don't remember him getting off that much offense. I think it was kind of at mid-range where Haney got a lot of his shots in, like mid and long range. But he showed how you can nullify someone by using your side and being wiry and that kind of stuff. Still effective, but it's effective defense on the inside, which is just as valuable. But yeah, I think Haney, he performed well. Deacon, I personally feel like Loma's pity pat punches aren't that effective unless yeah, exactly. Lomachenko, he's got respectable power, but he's a fighter that relies quite a lot on momentum. Like when he gets into his groove, like look at when he was at super featherweight. So he was at 130 fighting the likes of Jason Sosa. And now Jason Sosa, I use him because that's probably one of my favorite Lomachenko performances, because Jason Sosa's a bit unheralded. He's a great fighter, like great technical fighter, but I think he's just struggled to. He's had like a hard road in his career, but Lomachenko just completely dissected him. But it took a while for Lomachenko to get into that groove. But when he did, he was unstoppable. But now these bigger guys like Teofimo Lopez, like Devin Haney, they're nipping it in the bud early. They're not allowing Lomachenko to get into that groove. And because Lomachenko doesn't have that equalizer with that big time power, it's so much harder, because now he can't get any momentum and he can't flip a fight on its head. It's tough, it's hard. And he's losing. He's winning some, he's losing some, but that's the nature of boxing. There's no invincible fighters. Yeah, Haney's not all that tall. Does not balloon between fights. Very disciplined. Yeah, and he's going to need that, because other fighters like Shakur, like Davis, they're more talented. Dirk Bank, both fighters would get washed by Shakur. Hey, maybe if Shakur did that, I'd be mightily impressed. Haney showed good body work. I can tell he was working on that all camp. Yeah, definitely. You could see it in his training videos. Lomachenko isn't the best at defending the body shots. Look at the Campbell fight, for example. Yeah, Campbell fight and this fight. Lomachenko, quite unfortunate, because even though he's got a diminutive stature, he's got a really long body, like long torso, but short arms. But even then, that was a punch that paid off quite well for Devin Haney. But Lomachenko couldn't adjust. And so even as great as Lomachenko is, there's still things that, a lot of people, they talk about fighters like Lomachenko, these great technicians, and they make out as if they just have an endless array of tools and adaptations. But sometimes fighters, they do have limitations. They don't have like an unlimited supply of tactics and techniques that they can rely on. And that being said, though, like Devin Haney, yeah, he's not a puncher, but he sunk in a lot of body shots. But Lomachenko still had that engine in the end of the fight, and he finished quite a bit stronger than Devin Haney did. Pudding Gym 8, yes, got you in the house. Greetings. I hope you're doing well. He says, I hope I get the degree. I've worked so hard for it, man. I've just got to wait now. I've just got to done all my assessments, 4 years in the bag, but I've just got to wait to get the final verdict. I'll keep you guys in the loop though, because obviously you guys always turn up to the live streams and egg me on. So yeah, I'll keep you guys updated. Unbelievable amateur record. So it's like 396 to 1. Probably never be matched. No, probably not. And yeah, that's an amateur record, but to have that amateur record and then go over to the pros and do some amazing things, boy, like Lomachenko is yeah, really something. Jay says, at the end of one of the rounds, Haney was talking to his dad about Lomachenko was adjusting to the things he was doing. I can't remember what he was saying. He looked a little nervous. Yeah, I think I vaguely remember that. But the thing is, the copy I was watching had ads, and sometimes it like cut off a little bit. But yeah, there were a few moments where Haney was just looking a bit concerned. But then I thought towards the end of the fight, if you want to talk about demeanors and expressions, I thought I looked at Lomachenko's expression and I felt like he had the look of a man who thought that he just needed a little bit more. Maybe I'm completely wrong, but that's the vibe I got from Lomachenko after the fight, which ultimately, when it's all said and done, all the rounds have gone by, that's what matters most. Deacon says, the reason I bring that up is because how you score the beginning of his punch sequence without much mustard on them against seemingly. Yeah, that's the thing. These play a role. Like there was one sequence where Lomachenko landed left uppercut, right hook, both perfectly accurate shots, good scoring, clean blows. But then as Lomachenko's throwing the right hook, Haney's whipped over a left hook and it's caught him high on the head and just knocked his head. Didn't hurt Lomachenko, but it's eye-catching and it punctuates the exchange. So it's easy for some people, or maybe even the judges, to give that little exchange, that um, little skirmish to Haney. But as I say, these are my early thoughts. I'm going to rewatch it, and if I feel any different, I'll let you guys know. Uh, Jay, maybe Haney isn't walking around at 170. Maybe I exaggerated a little. He's got a slim, muscular build. Yeah, he probably walks around at 160. Yeah, I'd be surprised if he was walking around any more than that. But who knows? Like, some people have deceptive builds. In my experience, I'm one of them. A lot of people think I'm a lot lighter than I actually am, but there's a lot of factors that come into it: bone density, muscle density, all that kind of stuff. So you don't know until you know. So yeah, if you guys ever come across Devin Haney, don't bother asking for an autograph. Just take your scales with you and weigh him, and then you can put Jay's mind to rest. TMT, there are fighters who become freight train if you don't stop them in their tracks, like Loma, even Joyce. Yeah, that's what I say. Joyce, obviously not the technician, but he's a fighter that when he gets his momentum going, he gets into a flow. Yeah, very difficult to beat. So you have to sting him early. Bill Murphy, 160 for sure, 135 is 63 kilos. No one is this muscular and 5'8" and weighs 135. Well, it's rehydration. Like, it depends how much water your body can retain. I don't think some people can retain more water than others. Like, just to go to myself, for example, I'm not someone who can retain that much water. So uh, like some people, they weigh themselves first thing in the morning, and they're like so much lighter than they are at the end of the day. With me, a lot of the time I'm putting on no more than like 4 pounds across the day. So it really depends. It fluctuates. You never quite know, really. Um, at least 75 kilo. Okay. Damien asking which university I went to. I'm not going to disclose that, but it's not a particularly esteemed establishment. But yeah, I'm not going to say that because it probably help you guys to locate me, and I like my privacy. Joseph King, which route do you think is better for a pro fighter? Going the high level, um, high volume amateur career, or turning pro at a young age and fighting where it's legal to do so? You can make a case for both. And I feel like that's really exemplified by Haney and Lomachenko themselves. You look at Lomachenko, took the traditional route, obviously coming from Ukraine, where in that part of the world, to win an Olympic gold medal it's like it's really up there. Like, they really in Eastern culture, it's just a different level of respect that you get for doing that. And typically, in the Ukraine and former Soviet Union countries, the amateur system is so much tougher. Um, there's a lot more investment in it, and obviously there's massive competition pools. But then you have Haney, who had a decent amateur career, but made that transition very early. I think he was 17 when he turned pro. But he's the champion. He's undisputed champion. So I think whichever way you take, you have to prioritize the development. That is the real key. And how do you do that? It's about taking the right fights at the right time, realizing that a fighter, it's not about cashing them out. As much as we want to see that as fans, it's like when you're a manager, when you're a trainer, you have to think about the long-term development of your fighter from a technical perspective, from a psychological perspective, a strength and conditioning perspective. These are all, it's all long-term. So regardless of whether you go the amateur route or the pro route, what I do say though is, like, an amateur career is like your apprenticeship, if that makes sense. Because you have to remember, like, amateur boxing and professional boxing are very different. But I feel like there are certain lessons that you learn about yourself in the amateurs, and it's like a glimpse into what you could be. But whether you actualize that potential and use those lessons comes down to your pathway, your development, that kind of stuff. So, yeah. But what the hell do I know? I'm not a high level amateur. I'm not a high level pro. I'm just someone who makes silly little videos from my bedroom. TMT. Haney will take bad habits if he stays at lightweight, not being used to super lightweight's physicality. Yeah, it's going to be interesting. I, for one, am very intrigued to see how Teofimo Lopez gets on with Josh Taylor, because Lopez is someone who's enjoyed quite a bit of an advantage with his physicality and his power at lightweight. Will he be able to take that up to 140? But I think generally Lopez probably has an easier time at 140 than Haney does. Just my kind of perspective opinion right now. Pudding Jim says, don't mean to go off topic, but have we started to see the decline in Katie Taylor? Credit to her for going up in weight to challenge bigger Cameron. To be honest, I can't say, just because I've never really paid attention to Taylor's performances. I did see the highlights for her fight against Cameron. Well, some of the highlights. I couldn't make it through the whole thing. I think maybe, because she's not particularly young, is she, Katie Taylor? Is she like 36 or something? So maybe. And she's been in a lot of hard fights. You know, her defense is woeful from what I've seen at times. So I don't know. Maybe this is the end for her. Maybe. Bill Murphy, I guess they would have about 7 to 10 kilo difference, if not for weight cutting, so about 16, 22 pounds. Okay. Jay says, or asks rather, do you think Loma should have turned pro for his first Olympic gold? If so, how different do you think his career would have been? I'm not too sure about that, to be honest, because it's kind of, I'm not sure if it would have been of much consequence, but at the same time, maybe that second Olympic gold consolidated Lomachenko's confidence in himself. I don't feel there's any real way of knowing. But then he would have turned pro earlier. Let's say, okay, he wins his first gold at Beijing 2008, and then turns pro in 2009. What was the featherweight scene like in 2009? The super featherweight scene, the lightweight scene. I can't really remember, to be honest. I watched so much boxing over the years, I get all my dates mixed up. Yeah, that's the kind of thing you'd have to ask. How would Lomachenko, how would his style be if he turned pro earlier? Can't imagine it'd be that different, but you never know. And then what kind of competition would he come up against? But yeah, I think it's an interesting question to ask. I don't have the answers though, but yeah, I'd say maybe project the current version of Lomachenko, or when he turned pro back in 2013, and then compare him to the fighters at featherweight, super featherweight, and lightweight of 2009. But you'll never know. If Haney gets used to super lightweight strength, he has not much to fear from technically, though. Is Regis Prograis still at 140? I always forget. But Haney against Prograis, boy, I would not like Haney's chances in that fight. I think he could end up getting splattered by Prograis. But it'll be interesting. It will be interesting. But I wouldn't bank on him being able to deal with them physically. Yeah, professional boxing in former Eastern Bloc is still relatively new. They caught up quite quickly. Well, it's the school of training. I've got a fair bit of practice, a fair bit of experience with the Eastern system of boxing, and it's different. You know, I feel like I've got somewhat an informed opinion because I've had coaching from, you know, British style coaching, but also Russian style coaching, and it's there's a big difference, you know, in from what I've seen. and like my own experience, but also just watching boxing over the years, the Eastern European style of boxing is just, and also like Central Asian, it's a bit more quality over quantity. You know, there's a big emphasis on mechanics and practicing a punch over and over and over and over and over again to make it not only as powerful as possible but as efficient as possible. Whereas in the UK and Western Europe seems to, well, let me say with the UK, because I don't really have much experience with other Western European countries, but in the UK, I don't know, man. The school of boxing is a bit, I don't know. It's very fitness orientated, very work rate. Be the first to start and the last to finish. That kind of deal. The quality's not really there, but it's changing slowly but surely. This was years, like 10 years ago, when I was trying to do something in boxing, which seems like a lifetime ago. But yeah, it's very different schools of boxing training and methodology. Got boxing in the edge in the house. Good to see you, man. It's been a while since we've had a little chat. Might have to get you on a live stream. What's the next big fight? I guess that would be over here. It's Akoli versus Billum Smith. But yeah, we'll catch up soon, man. But I'm going to carry on for a few minutes, so be good to chat to you if you're able to stay. Yeah, boxing on the edge, you guys. If you haven't subbed already, head over there. Henry is the boxing coach, putting out some good, very detailed boxing technical instructional videos. Jay says Shakur right now versus Loma 2017, back when he was at 130. Who wins? I'd edge Lomachenko, but Shakur would give him a real hard fight. So maybe that's a tough one, because I think around that time Shakur Stevenson was sparring Lomachenko. So I imagine Shakur Stevenson is quite confident in his ability to against Lomachenko. But I don't know, man. That's interesting. That is interesting. Maybe I'll do like some kind of fancy matchup. We'll see. But yeah, good fight. Shakur Stevenson riding the crest of a wave right now. Hasn't really had a competitive fight in his career, has he? Shakur Stevenson. He's been fighting some decent guys. TMT, Loma would have had no interest in opponents to face. Yeah, exactly. Like that kind of time, I can't think of anyone. A lot of the good light welterweights are at welterweight by that point. Yeah. Or what am I talking about? The good lightweights were at light welterweight, and I can't really think of anyone in the lighter divisions. Yeah. So it's probably good he turned pro when he did, because he's been in some good matchups. Progress still at 140. Jay thinks Progress smokes Haney. Yeah, probably. I like Progress. His style, his the power, the slickness, the defense. Really nice, relaxed style. I like Progress. He's got that good combination of defense and firepower. His fight against Josh Taylor, that fight was brilliant. Like I was really into that fight, watching it live. That was a good one. Yeah, boxing on the edge. We'll catch up soon, man. Probably just going to go for a couple more minutes because I've got to shoot off shortly. But wanted to talk to you guys about the fight. Looks like the chat has come to a standstill, so I might take this opportunity to close this one off. It's been good though. It's been good. I think this is the first post-fight review I've done as a live stream. It's been fun, because initially I was going to do this as a pre-recorded video like standard, but figured, nah, I got some time. I'll catch up with you guys, especially because recently channels just it's been a bit quiet. I've had to kind of focus on my studies and stuff, but now I've just got all the time in the world. But yeah, it's good. We'll get talking about some more fights. Got a couple more comments come through. Overtrained, yes sir. How you doing, man? Great breakdown of the UK versus Eastern European training. Would be interested to hear your opinions on the main differences between African American as well as the Mexican. Yeah, that's a good idea. I think I might even do a standalone video, kind of just presenting my experience, but like a dedicated video, you know, UK boxing versus Eastern European boxing. Um, Maybe extrapolate outwards, as you say, African versus or African American versus Mexican. Some good ideas, yeah. Definitely. I'll work on that behind the scenes. Uh, Jay's good chat. Yes, sir. It's good to have you here, man. So I've just finished. I was doing a 4-year degree in sport and exercise science. And yeah, I had my last assessment was was an exam on last Tuesday. So I've been off for like 4 or 5 days now. Just got all the time in the world. Got to take the next step in my career. Little bit daunting, but hey, it's got to happen sooner or later. So yeah, that's it. And now I've just got to wait a little bit for my final degree classification, and then it will be graduation in September. So yeah, onwards and upwards, lads. But for now, it's 1 o'clock. I plan to finish at 1, so perfect. We're on time. We've had a busy one today. I think upwards of 20 people at points. So thank you guys for spending your Sunday morning, Sunday afternoon with me talking about the fight. I guess I'll catch you on the Lawrence Okolie, Chris Billum Smith prediction video. Maybe I'll do a live. I'll see. But nevertheless, guys, thank you for joining me. Hope you've enjoyed. Have a good day. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. Yeah, peace. Until next time. I'll catch you later, fellas.